Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's My Games Recruitment Show, where, as you can see, we're talking about cold calling. Is it back? Is it back? And to do that, we have a fantastic guest today. But before I get Mike to introduce them, I do have to introduce the man himself. My Games, the man, the myth, the legend. How are you today?
I think this, my grey hair, this pale blue shirt, and this dark blue jumper is the story, Lovey. I think it's just coming together nicely. Okay, so we have Kate O'Neill on the show with us today. Kate's a coach and a trainer. Kate O'Neill Coaching, I believe the name of your company is. Would you like to just say a few words, and then I'm going to explain why I was so keen to get you on the show.
Yeah, so I am a coach and a trainer for the recruitment industry. I do a lot of behavioural work with people as well. So I'm a DISC accredited trainer. But yeah, I only work with the recruitment industry because I'm absolutely obsessed by it. So, and business development, which is, I'm not gonna introduce myself anymore, but I guess that's why you've got me on today.
It is indeed. Now, thank you very much for that. We are excited to have you on the show. You've been a guest before, and you're always great when you come on with us. Now, I was very keen to do this, and we were going to do it last year, and then we put it off, and we're doing it now because I think 2024 is going to be a tougher year for BD. It's not going to be a disaster. I don't think it's going to be terrible or anything like that. I think it's going to be tougher, and I think over the past couple of years, in many cases, business came to you, or you didn't have to do vast amounts to get it. I think it's still going to be there, but you have to go and get it yourself. And one of the ways that you can do that is pick the telephone up. Bit old-fashioned, bit 1990s, but it's there, and it gives you some control. But it's a bloody nightmare of things that you can do wrong. Attractive cul-de-sacs that seem like the right thing, but actually when you do them, you realize they're not. So what we want to do on this show today is give you some clarity and some confidence about cold calling. And Kate and I are going to come in from slightly different angles, and that was on purpose. We've not kind of colluded and aligned ourselves. Kate's got her approach and I've got mine, and there's a lot of commonalities you'd expect, but really we want to bring it together, and you then, the audience, the viewers, can take what you want.
Yeah, indeed. And as we go through, if you have any clarification questions or anything you want to bring to Mike or Kate, then please feel free to bring them up in the comments. It makes me not lonely, which I do enjoy.
Before we start, can I ask a question? Is there anybody out there that likes cold calling? Just a simple yes. Yes. No, or if Satan skates to work before I would like cold calling. Yes.
I would use the crying emoji if it was me. It's not something I cry every time. It's not something I'm good. So
I'm not going to pick on you. Don't worry. We're not going to ask you to. Just interested to see what you think.
Yeah. So as Mike mentioned, Kate and Mike have very different views. I think they learned how to do things in a different time. So what I'm going to do is opening statements around cold calling. So Kate, what do you think? What do you want to say about it today before we get into it?
Well, personally, it does my head in when people talk about cold calling being dead, because it's not, and it shouldn't be, because newsflash, our job is about building relationships. And fortunately or unfortunately for some people, that means you actually have to speak to people. So to me, when people think it's dead, it baffles me, because if you come into this job and think that you're going to barely speak to people, or you want to avoid speaking to people, then I think you are in the wrong job. So I think I've pretty much summarized my viewpoint on it there. I'm pro it. It does, it's not dead, and it shouldn't be.
Oh, I like it. Like it strong out of the gate there. I appreciate that. Mike, your rebuttal, your opinion?
Okay. Well, we like a bit of aggro on this show, don't we? We do like a bit of aggro. I think this is a matter of nomenclature, really, of words. I don't believe in cold outreaches. I think you can do it and it works, but it's bloody hard and it's very demoralizing. It's tough, and you've got to have a certain level of skill. Everything that we do in the Recruitment Pioneers is about de-skilling. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So how can people with less ability and less skills actually deliver some results? I believe in warm outreach calls. So like Kate, I believe in picking the phone up 100%. That is never going to go away. But I think there are some things to turn a cold call into a warm call. And if you do that, you build the confidence of the people making the call. And the secret to good outreach calls is confidence. So yes, nearly aligned, but different enough to make it interesting.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I do have to just say, we have had some comments. Elizabeth said that she enjoys cold calling. Apparently she's old school.
Yeah,
Josh enjoys it. Tom enjoys it. I have to say,
Good.
you're all weirdos. Nick and I are in it together. That's what I'm saying. Nick,
Oh, he's got the crying emoji. Well done, Nick. Come on.
Yeah, Nick and I are together. Right, okay. So to begin with, I want to kind of delve a little bit deeper into what Mike said about turning a cold call into a warm call and the things that you can do in order to kind of increase the temperature. So who wants to start? Mike, Kate, who wants to start here?
Oh, I think our guest should go first.
Kate over here. There you go.
So, by the way, this is all stuff that I do myself because I do my own business development for my own business. You've got to there's needs to be, for me, I try and build awareness and I train other people to do this. So before it leads from what Mike was saying about making it warm, is I make sure that they know me, and it's about being and showing up where your clients, prospective clients are. So for example, for me, that's mainly LinkedIn, right? So some of you might already be sick to death of me watching this because the comment I get a lot is, oh my God, you're everywhere. And I will make calls to agency owners and they already know me. I'm not that name, they know it because I comment on things, I post videos, I post every day. I just show up where they show up. They can't get rid of me. So I am annoyingly familiar. So it is naturally a warm call. But I think it's also having done your prep. So, you make sure that there's a purpose to the call and there's something to talk about other than got any jobs. But I think you've got to build that familiarity and, or if you connect with them on LinkedIn, a quick little message, like the thanks for connecting message, not asking for anything. So you're popping up everywhere all the time. So it's building that, for me, it's really building that familiarity.
I will say though, your posts are a really nice mixture of kind of valuable content around the topic that you speak about, but also about you, that you're really good, I think, at balancing that personal and kind of value added content. I think you get a really good balance.
People get an insight into who you are. So because not everybody, I think what we've got to remember is, not you might be nervous about picking up the phone, but don't put that person on a pedestal. Sometimes they don't like speaking on the phone. They're not confident. So if you are this person where they feel they've got to know you a little bit and your personality, and if you feel safe to them, they are going to be more likely to take that call. So yeah, the mix of posting I think is really important. So you add value, you bit of personal stuff and a bit of what you do, so people really understand you.
Well, before I come to my bit, I know you want me to comment, Kirsty, but I would just build on that. We are going to do a whole show on LinkedIn because I've been amazed how few people use LinkedIn properly. It's just amazing. And one of the things that we do, we only do it for our clients, so we don't do it for other people, just our breakthrough clients and private clients. We actually produce posts that they can post, and you would never know because it's written in the style, using the words, it's exactly the same. And there's a formula that we use which works very well. I'm going to share that formula. So I actually agree with you on that, Kate. But going back to this warm call, cold call thing, there are many ways that you can warm a call up. But the bottom line is a warm call is an expected call. That's the deal. A cold call is an unexpected call. And if you catch somebody unexpectedly, then you've got to do everything in the call. There's no warm up. There's no, it's like bang straight in there. And we're going to talk about the structure a little later, which I know is going to be an important part of this session. But I think there are lots of things. I'm going to give you some examples now, but it's very important wherever you can to warm up the call. Now, that the objection we always get when we talk about this with our clients is, yeah, but if they know I'm going to call, they won't take the call. That may be true, but it simply means that you're not wasting your time trying to make a call that's not going to happen. And even if you don't get someone who's going to say, don't call me, I'd sooner wriggle over cold, get broken glass than you speak to me, which they never do really. I think it just makes it easier to move on to the next call. You're not wasted your time. You've not made a bad call. So I think it's okay to pre-warn someone that there's going to come a call. There is, as we'll talk about in a minute, two types of call, direct and indirect, which is really interesting actually, especially for those people just learning to cold call or outreach call, because indirect is a great way to start, but I don't want to spoil the fun on that. So let me give you an example, just a simple example that you can use. If you connect with someone, and I know, don't be horrified until you've heard me all the way through. If you connect with someone on LinkedIn, and then the day after you send a video, right, a bespoke video for them, it's clearly for them, so it's either got their LinkedIn profile behind, or it's got a picture of them, or it's got their logo and their name or something, whatever. So they can see that you've recorded it for them. And it's not a pitch. And you say, this isn't a pitch. You say it in the text in LinkedIn. You say it at the beginning of the video. It's not LinkedIn. It's not a pitch. Give me 30 seconds and I'll tell you what it is. If you're good enough to connect with me on LinkedIn, so thank you for that. And I thought the least I could do is just do a quick introduction of me. And then after that, you get different variations that you can do that we've got, that we use. But what that means is at the end of it, you can then say, look, I'm going to give you a call because I just want to build on what I've just said. Again, I promise that call won't be a pitch. I promise it won't be. But I'm going to give you a call. If you don't want me to, just say no thanks, reply to this message, and of course I won't. So you don't look desperate. Just that simple little thing. Not only does it mean they're expecting the call and they know it's coming, but and you can use it, if you don't use a call, you can use an email to pre-warn that an email's coming in. Not only that, but if you get a gatekeeper, there is a slim chance that will help you get around them. You know, sent a message, they're expecting it. I gave them a chance to say no, thank you. I know they listened to it. They didn't say no, thank you. So I think they want to speak to me. Could you just check? It's a brave gatekeeper that says, no, I won't check. I mean, some will. Melanie, for example.
Melanie.
Yeah. It's a brave gatekeeper that says, out of hand, no, just check. If he doesn't want to speak to me, that's fine, but just check. So that's what I mean by turning it into a warm call. And there's lots and lots and lots of things that you can do. We have on our platform that you can utilize for these things to make it easier.
Yeah, and we are going to look a little bit deeper into how to get around gatekeepers in a little bit as well. But Nick did say that's a really good idea, Mike. So already someone's taken something away from today's
slightly
show.
Warmer now, slightly warmer. Still crying emoji. Oh no, smiling emoji now.
It's gone full
changed.
It's full turn circle. Yeah. Okay. So I think essentially, if I may summarize what both of you just said, is essentially don't go in when they have no idea of who you are. Introduce yourself either kind of subtly by being available and being visible in the space that they live in, or if you're feeling a bit more adventurous, introduce yourself. But just make sure that you're not going in when they have no idea who you are. Okay. So now the next thing I want to talk about is if you've got people who work for you and you want them to start doing some outreach, because most business owners are normally pretty good at cold calling because business owners, they're used to it. They're very good at BD.
Don't kid yourself on that, by the way.
Well,
I was going to say.
Okay, well, I'm making this assumption. But a lot of people are going to push back. So how am I supposed to, as a business owner, get my team to do calls? So Kate, I'm going to come to you first again here. How am I supposed to get my team happier to do calls?
So I think, first of all, you've got to identify what's stopping them, because it will be, you've got to remember this team of people that you've got, and all different people with different communication preferences, different motivators, different fears, all this kind of thing. So you've got to understand what is getting in the way and identify, well, is there a gap in knowledge here? That's what affecting their confidence? Do they actually not know what to do? Mm-hmm. Then I need to train them or get someone else to train them. Then if it's not a gap in knowledge and you identify it's a mindset problem, then again, that's more of that's a coaching need, and that will also build up their confidence. So you've got to work out what is stopping them and tap into the individual motivators in each person. Do they actually understand why they're doing business development? Do they think it's just a KPI activity and they're just like, oh yeah, cool, I'll just tick my boxes? Like, do they actually have a why behind it? Why are they doing it? And what the result of that actually ends up being? Because honestly, I see it all the time where they think they're just doing it to tick a box. And that's not what it is. That's not what it's for, So it's all those things together are really important to address.
Yeah, I really like because I think a lot of people as well aren't even remotely taught cold calling. It's what some people are innately good at it. Some people are just like pick up the phone and have a go and they will, but other people have no idea. And so when they're told to do it, most won't. And if they do it badly and they never want to do it again. So I really like the idea of figuring out why they won't do it and then training them or coaching them.
Yeah. And you've got to break that. But ultimately, the first thing I'll do with people is we've got to break these negative perceptions. So I don't even call it cold calling, because straight away people are like, you've got to break through their perception of what business development or the outreach, break through that and turn it into a more positive perception.
Can I bring in the direct and indirect thing here?
You can, Michael, you can.
Because whether you're experienced or whether you're not, you can use this, right? We use it a lot ourselves. We teach people this in our program. So direct means I'm ringing up to get a piece of work. That's ostensibly it. And that can split into two. Give me a piece of work now, or let's make this a strategic call and the start of a relationship building process, and we'll get a piece of work later. But it's a better piece of work. That's the bottom line. It's about, I sell this thing or I do this thing and I want you to buy it. I mean, probably position it a little better than that. Indirect means you've got another reason for ringing in. And the two biggest are chunky content. And those people that tune into this show regularly will know exactly what that is. If you don't, it's content that's good enough that your potential clients are almost prepared to pay for it. So typical chunky content would be a salary survey. I mean, and that's a bit cliched now. But things like events, if you're running an event, and I don't necessarily mean a physical event, this kind of thing, a webinar or a live show. If you've chosen the right subject, the right topic, and you're presenting it in a way that the audience you're going for are more likely to engage with it, getting people to ring up about that is much easier because there's no chance of failure. It's all you're saying is, look, we're doing this thing because we know a lot of people in the industry are interested in that. Is that something you'd like to see? Is that something that I could invite you to? You know, or better yet, I've been told I can invite 2 people and I'd like you to be one of them. Would you like to come? You know, so there's different ways of positioning it, but there's no chance of failure. They can say I'm not interested, which is fine. Okay, all right. But you've broken the ice. Is it okay if I keep in touch from time to time? We get a lot of this content coming through. Is it okay if I do that? At one of these times as well, it'd be great if I could tell you what we do, our flavor of recruitment. So you can use it to start a conversation, which is what it's one of the 6 conversation starters. You can use it for that. But also it's part of a training process because people are much more likely to do that. They build their confidence, and confidence is the secret to successful outreach calls. There are lots of things you need to do, of course, skills, as you said, mentality, all of that, but all of it roots into confidence. If they're not confident, they won't do it or they'll do it badly. And indirect calls are a very good way to begin to build confidence, to start those conversations. And as I said, we use it a lot and it works terribly well.
Okay, I really like that. Again, sort of both of you coming at things from the same thing, but in a different way. Kate, making sure they understand the why of what they're doing, making sure you understand the resistance. And Mike, sort of the same thing, but in a different way. You're sort of giving them an alternative that accomplishes the same thing, but just kind of explains it differently. Now, in a second, we are going to go a lot deeper into the structure, and I'm really looking forward because both Kate and Mike have.
Can we cover off strategic and tactical as well? Because that's something Kate wants to do. Can we do that before we look at the structure? Would you mind?
Yes, we can. But in 1 second, before then, Mike, we do have a note from our sponsor, which I believe is you.
Yeah, no, actually, it's not me, right? We have a new sponsor, our Profit and Lifestyle Recruitment Summits that we run every month. It's a full day working on your business, not in your business. And the idea is to maximize profits, to give you as the owner more free time, to create that long-term wealth. And it's for anybody between 1 and 20 staff, so solopreneurs up. If you're interested and would like to know more, we're going to have burn time now doing it. Then first thing you should know is that it's 97 quid plus VAT for the whole day, including lunch. We do it in Manchester, Birmingham and London. And if you want to know more, you can click on recruitmentpioneers.com/summits, but the link will be in the post accompanying this live stream on LinkedIn. So there you go. That's our sponsors, Profit and Lifestyle.
Fantastic. It is a great day and a great lunch, which we all love. Okay, now, Pete, Mike, let's look at the question that you wanted to ask Kate. Do you want to ask Kate yourself?
Yeah, so we talked about this earlier, and both of us are very much in agreement with this. But again, I'm going to try and come from a different angle to make it interesting. Strategic versus tactical. Come on, Kate, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so to me, tactical is it's what I got taught to do when I started, and I want to say it's very old school now, and it's just chasing. It's basically live stuff, you know, the old I'm chasing job ads, like who's got live jobs now, who's got live jobs now. It's very strategic to me is the way forward, and that's about relationships, and it does take more time and investment and planning, but that is where you are going to get high quality partnerships is the key word there for me, with great clients that where you can start talking about things like retainers and exclusivity and all of that stuff. And it's not just going after what a lot of all the other agencies are doing, which is what can I work on now? What can I work on now? What can I work on now? It's planning ahead. It is what it says on the tin. It's being strategic. It's running your desk like a business. Yeah. And that's when you're going to get the most out of it. And that's when you're going to get less of these extreme highs and then big dips. You know, it creates more consistency for your desk anyway. So for me, it is a no-brainer with how
It's
you
the way
should be
forward for
doing
me as well.
recruitment.
The big difference is that with tactical business development, which by the way, 95% of recruiters, if you ask them to describe business development, actually just describe tactical BD. And it's
Yeah,
basically two things. It's gives a job, either because you've seen
yeah,
an advert or you're ringing up whatever, or I've got this great candidate. It's transactional, it's about money now. The problem with that, you're backing yourself into a corner, because if there is no work, there's a PSL in place or a panel in place and you're on it, that's the end of the call, really. You've got nowhere to go. Whereas if the theme of the call is we've got a certain flavor of recruitment, and that's the new way of representing a product, by the way. The old good, better, and best has sort of slipped away a bit now, and we're into flavors, which is much more powerful. This is our flavor of recruitment, and all I'm interested to know is does our flavor of recruitment match your taste? Because if it does, I'm very patient. Whether or not I need to wait 3 weeks, 3 months, or years, doesn't matter. If the way in which you like to work is the way in which I like to work, then we will wait long enough until we get an opportunity. It's very different, very refreshing. It's non-threatening, and it's very simple to say, no, I don't really like how you're describing the way you do things. Well, let's move on then, because I ain't going to waste my time or your time doing it. But it doesn't back you into a corner, because they can say, well, we've got a PSL. I don't mind. How long does it last? 100 years? Sooner or later it's going to come up for grabs. But when it does, I want you to know exactly what we do. I want you to know exactly what our flavor of recruitment is, because then we stand a much better chance of getting on the list. We've got no vacancies. Well, that's great, because vacancies just get in the way of this. Let's talk about how we do things. Let's talk about how you like to work. So it takes timing out of it, which is, again, a big confidence builder, because there's nothing that they can say which ends that call, apart from, clear off, never ring me again, which I think we've all had.
you still try.
Yeah, I was going to say, both of you would still go for that. I know you both very well. You would both still have a point. Okay, so I think I do want to move on now, because I do really want to look at the structure of the call, because very often a lot of confidence comes with, they'll have questions, they'll have ideas, what if they say this, what if they say that, how am I supposed to do it? So I really want to look at this structure. So Kate, again, I'm going to come to you first, ladies first. Can you talk a little bit about the structure, how you would structure a call?
This to me is really key, right? Because like we've talked about confidence a lot, this massively creates confidence. But for me, it's about you being in control of the call without the client knowing it. It's not, when I talk about control, I'm not talking about, them feeling like, oh my God, this person's a psycho. But you are navigating the conversation the way that you want it to go. And for me, I teach a structure which is you have obviously your introduction to start. Then you go into what I call identifying the problems or the needs. That's lots of open questions, building rapport, talking to the client. Then you go into selling a solution, which is tailored to what they want and need. And then you close, which could be closing for a meeting, or if they happen to have a role that comes up, great, could be to work on that, whatever it is. And then at the end, making sure that you fully mapped out that client. So, while I've got you on the phone, who else should I be speaking to, and what are their details? Because they're more likely to tell you at the end of the call if you've revolved it all around them. If you're selling them a tailored solution, they won't feel like you're selling. You're just giving them answers to the problems they've told you about earlier in the call. So, in a nutshell, that is what I learned it from recruiting for the pharmaceutical industry, because that's how they sell. And I now teach it when I train, but it works because they don't feel that they're in a sales call. They get lost in the conversation and just end up hopefully enjoying it.
I know that works. I mean, again, I'm going to come from a different angle, else it'd be pretty boring if I didn't. But I know that works, what you just described. I know it works. So I think so. We're, for those people, again, who are aware of this show, know that we talk about AIDA a lot. Attention, interest, desire, and action. Been around since 1913. Cold calls, emails, presentations, pitches, documents. The best ones are written in a form of AIDA. And typically in a cold call, these numbers are typical, so they can vary, but typically you're going to get between 5 and 7 seconds to grab attention. So that's your opening. Now you can have helped that a little bit if you've preloaded it with some kind of message from LinkedIn or a video or an audio or something. You can do that. But essentially that's how long you get. And so you have to say something in that very slim amount of time, which is going to grab the attention enough to give you the next 30 seconds, which is where you build interest. Then when you build interest, if you do that properly, then you get up to 8 minutes then to build desire. These are typical numbers, right? But as we know, and then of course there's a call to action at the end, whatever that might be. But we know that you can never be too long, you can just be too boring. It's the same in video or anything really. If you're talking to someone, and you must have had this, most people watching this, you start to talk to them, you've got a couple minutes, yeah, I just got 2 minutes. And half an hour, you're still on the phone with them, right? Because what you're saying is of interest to them, right? Now, if you want, if you don't feel skilled enough to ask questions, and I think that's what you do, and I'm not pushing Kate's skills, but you do need a trainer to help someone to do that. And if you want to start and you haven't got that in place yet, and you should get it, then one of the things you can do is draw upon the things that we know clients hate about agencies. Right? We know this, okay? So it's not the three main things that clients on average look for in an agency, excluding the cost thing. You've got to take that out because that means different things to different people at different times. Is the first one is they can find candidates that other agencies aren't finding. So it's the breadth of their search. So if you've got data to back that up and a methodology which brings out these extra people, whether that's because you're retained or exclusive, or whether it's got you've perfected an approach to get to these people, I don't know, really. It's whatever you want. We've got loads of ways that we do it, as most recruiters have, but you just have to demonstrate that you're getting candidates that nobody else is getting. The second thing is the quality of the qualification. So are they getting candidates, CVs that match the vacancy? When the candidates turn up for interview, do they match the CV and therefore match the vacancy? And there's a big thing about quality because it's a waste of time and frustrating if you don't. And the third thing, which is weird, I know, but was the experience of hiring someone pleasurable? Was it not a pain in the arse? Now, I've worked on the other side of the fence. I've used agencies in two different parts of my career, not rec to rec when I was outside of recruitment. And I'm telling you now, a lot of agents make it so easy. Some agencies make it so easy, but some make it very difficult. So if you can prove that you can get candidates that other people don't get, and if you can prove that the quality of your CVs is very high, you've qualified them, they're not only suitable for a role, but they're also serious about a role, because those are two different things completely. And you can reflect that in the number of counter offers that are accepted, because it's quite small. And you can prove that it's actually a very easy process dealing with you. You've already got their attention, because most of the agencies you compete against don't do any of those things. So if you're one of those people who are Q&A, or they're very short with you, look, I've got a couple of minutes, right? Oh, that's me, always the same. I've been doing it 36 years. Oh, okay, well, look, right? It's very easy to say, well, okay, let me tell you this. I've got three things. If you're okay with these three things, I'm stopping the call because you don't need me, okay? So if your agencies reach CVs that nobody else is getting, if your agencies totally nail the candidate to the vacancy, and if that process is very easy for you, almost enjoyable, then fine. If not, I'd like another 30 seconds to talk. So I think the opener for me, if you're not certain, is to nail them with that, because it pretty much always resonates with most people.
Oh, I like that. Kate, do you have any follow-up thoughts with that?
Yeah, I think the intro to the call is extremely important, because like when any of us get a call from someone we don't know, you are literally thinking, do I want to carry on speaking to this person or not?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got it's a really short part of the call, but so important, because ultimately the more people you keep on the phone and the more calls you complete, it's all going to lead to more clients, isn't it? More positive conversations. So I think the intro bit is really key for me, and just watching things like your tone of voice and stuff when you're going into the call. So the structure is important, but it's also how you're coming across, and you do have to read the room very quickly and adapt. So if they sound, if you get an initial, oh, I haven't got time, don't use agencies, well, listen to how they're saying it, because that can tell you a lot as well. Is it just, I'm trying to get you off the phone, or is it, when you're trying to suss, you're just reading the room and sussing out what's really going on here, which I know is a very short part of the call, but that first bit is really important, isn't it?
It certainly is. And I funnily enough, I was trained in the 80s to ask permission. So you ring in, say, it's Mike Ames here from Systems Resources, who I work for there. This is a cold call, and I just wondered if you got a couple of minutes for me to go through exactly what it is. Right, that was the deal. That's where we were trained, because it's honesty and permission. Those are the two things: honesty, permission, key messages, and then a call to action. That's the four kind of bits of a structure that we did. And that first 7 seconds, that's what you say in that first 7 seconds. And if they come back, no, or I haven't really got the time, we were then trained to say, well, okay, when's a better time to catch you? Which is the exact opposite to the way a lot of people teach. I'm going to screw you down now. Well, no, because if they're busy, mentally not there, you're just going to piss them off, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
okay,
agree.
when's a better time to catch you? Because it's not a big deal for me. Not that you say that, but that's what's coming across. Because as soon as you sound apologetic in your voice or your tone, as soon as you sound lack confidence, well, I'm not even sure I should be doing this. Why would you want to buy from me? If any of that comes through, you're a dead duck. So you have to
Or
be very
sound desperate.
mentally, desperate. Mentally, I genuinely believe I can help you if your current agencies aren't exactly where you want them to be. I genuinely feel I can help you. That's the internal thing. That confidence will come through in your voice. Without that, and I get people cold calling, I'm sure you do, Kate. People ring me all the time. And the only time they get through is on my mobile because Melanie sifts them out and nobody gets past Melanie. But it's almost like, yeah, well, look, or they're the opposite, where they're Mr. Billy Big Bollocks. And you're thinking, no, hang on, mate, hang on, calm down. What is this? So honesty for me, this is a cold call. And then permission. Can I just have like a minute, 30 seconds just to explain what it is? Because it's either going to be relevant for you or you're not. No, I haven't got time. Is there a better time that I can ring you? No, there isn't. Well, fair enough then. But you know what? We'll go back and we'll try them with one of the other 6 conversation starters in about 3 months' time. And we'll do that for 18 months until they say, if you ring me again, I'll set the dogs on you, or we start a conversation.
Yeah.
I love dogs.
Well, not the Pekingese. If you're focused enough on starting a conversation with somebody, you will. Just don't give up. Persistence is omnipotent, isn't it, when it comes to cold calls?
Oh, definitely don't give up. Definitely don't give up.
Oh my
No.
God.
Absolutely not.
No,
Well,
never.
once you could try direct first. So go for it. This is what we do, and I'd like to know whether it's relevant to you, whether you like it. And if that fails, you can make the next call indirect. I know I called and you weren't interested, but look, we got this great thing. Would you like to see it, or would you like to be part of it, or would you like to come, or whatever? So you don't have to give up. The trick, though, is to make sure that every 3 months you're trying something, and it's different. It's still not the same cold call you made before. Are you sure you don't want to give me the business? Because the answer is definitely no. So that's not going to fly. Right? There's lots of things that you can do in order to achieve that, actually.
What I really like about what both of you said is there is a structure there. So if somebody doesn't know what they're doing, they can follow it. But a lot of it is on how is getting permission to continue the call. Because if you're somebody who doesn't like to do it very often and you succeed in that first 5 minutes, and even if you get them on the phone for 10 minutes and they don't result in a sale, they don't result in business, I, as a person, am still going to feel confident in my ability to call people, warm call, cold call, whatever you want to call it, because the beginning was successful. So I really like the fact that both of you focused on the opener of the call a lot.
7 seconds, Kirsty. 7 seconds you get, right? And then you ask permission for more. The next 30 seconds to create interest. And I think you're right, Kate, 100%. If you don't get the first 7 seconds, end of. But then creating interest is really important because they're asking themselves, why would I use you? Why would I talk to you? And if you don't have a very good answer for that, if you don't pose the question to say, well, this could be a reason, let me explain more. Again, dead in the water. And they'll give us a vacancy, or, I mean, here's a classic one, which drives me mad, right? So
Honestly, it makes me want to cry.
I know, yeah, I know. And it's so, we shouldn't be like that, but we are really. But the, if you advert chase, right, which is fine. I'm not a big fan myself, but hey, it's very tactical and you can get business from it. Ring in, I've seen you got an advert, so and so and so. And it's like, well, yeah, but I put that out there so I can try and fill it without you. Right. So ringing in to try and get the vacancy, you might get a frog turn into a prince, but it's unlikely. What's better than
Also, with that though, how many other people do you think of? What you've got to think is they could have had 10 other of those calls in that morning, and you're just another salesperson. To me, it's like I don't want them to think that it's a cold call. I want to be ringing where they're like, oh, thank God, a recruiter that's a real person and not a sales robot. Yes, I will talk to you. Thank you very much.
I'll tell you what else works.
It fries me.
Ring an advert. I've seen an advert. I've seen you place it yourself. So clearly you want to see if you can fix it. Totally get that. 100% get that. I would do the same if I were you. Okay. However, is there going to come a point in the future where you're going to think it's not working? We're going to need an agency. Because if there is, I'll ring back then. Okay. Now, a few people do that, but not many. But even less actually ring back. If they say, yeah, okay, ring me in 3 weeks, they don't bother. Well, if you do that, because again, it's taking timing out of it. I'm accepting that you want to do this. Fine. I'll ring back in 3 weeks. And even if they filled the role, the chances of getting a conversation on the second call massively inflate. Because now, have you got, no, we filled it ourselves. Oh, well done, well done. How long did that take? Well, it's that and the other. You can begin the rapport building process. Is it okay if I keep in touch? Which was always the thing we were drilled into us. Is it okay if I keep in touch? Yes. When's the best time of the day to get you? And I'll ring then. So if you're a morning person, I'll ring then. If you're an afternoon person, I'll ring then. Those questions were drummed into us. Even 36 years later, I still remember them. And preferably
I
these
would even be
days.
trying to get a meeting, to be honest. Go and position it and introduce it in a way where it's more assumptive. But when would be a good time to actually come and meet with you? Because if you get that in early,
you can tell from
massively builds it.
From their tone of voice and their stance whether you could do that. Because what we always used to say was, I'll come to town occasionally. If I'm in town, it's okay if I just drop in and say hello. So, and the other thing is that the two-stage permission. So, would there be a time in the future, that we could meet? If I was coming to town or whatever, just give me a ring. Yeah, it'd be okay. Because you're asking permission to ask. It's not like, can I come and see you? It's, can I ask you to come and see you? And then when you ring in a month later, whatever it is, if I said I was coming to town and I'd give you a ring. Yeah, well, I'm coming to town. So can we schedule a quick coffee or can we just meet and say hello in reception? I think that the less a recruiter you are, transactional, tactical, pushy, I need the business, I'm going to be pushier than everybody else, the more you stand out, the less desperate you are. Because the three things you have to get across, I think, subliminally, is I'm very patient and persistent. So I'm just going to keep going. And I'm very creative with it. I'm not desperate for this work. If you don't want to trade with me, that's absolutely fine. And I am confident that I can help you. Those three things have to come through when you cold call. So, and if you can do that, then you'll stand out. And that's the trick. Just want to stand out. You're not standing out necessarily by what you say. You're standing out by the way in which you say it. And that's very powerful. And
no, I'm going to have to interrupt Mike because there's one other topic that I want to start talking about. We have had some great comments. So Ruin said great tips on the ambulance chasing guys, it was fantastic. We've had George say great session. He also leads with, this is a cold call. May I have 20 seconds of your time, please? Usually more than 90% of people respond with go on, what you're selling, honesty up front sets a tone. We've had a really interesting thought though. It's hi, it's the police, and people will probably listen to you. I really enjoy.
Worth a try.
I probably wouldn't use that one myself, but hey, if it works for you, go with it.
I'm not sure what the conversion of that would be, but people would definitely listen. Fantastic. Okay, so the next topic and the last little bit that I want to get into before we start talking about top tips is gatekeepers. Now, we have sort of briefly mentioned, and we obviously mentioned Melanie, who is the greatest of all gatekeepers, but it is increasingly that, especially when you're talking to senior people, C-level and kind of above, a lot of them have gatekeepers. It could be a reception, it could be a PA or whatever you want to call it. How am I supposed to get through to my person? How am I supposed to get around the gatekeeper? Because lying to them, I tell you now, is not the number one.
It doesn't work. I've done it.
But gatekeepers aren't very clever, and you can easily get around them.
I watched a training thing on it once, and I was doing it, and this guy, he was like, "Don't forget, gatekeepers aren't very clever, so you can lie to them." And I was like,
we couldn't believe
fantastic tip. Fantastic.
Oh my God. I was mind boggled. So please don't. But Kate, do you have any tips on getting around the gatekeepers?
I do. And what I will say is I work with a lot of agencies that are in kind of warehouse, like all different, and there's gatekeepers at all levels, right? So you are going to get them a lot. I've learned from my own experiences when I started out all those years ago. I know I don't look old enough to be in recruitment 11 years, but I have been. I used to get it so wrong because I didn't value the gatekeeper. I didn't treat them with much respect. I didn't even get their name half the time. And what happens? I got blocked. It was so much harder for me to speak to people. So I think, get their name and use it in the call and treat them like a client. You've got to win them over, and you might not get through the first, second, third, fourth time, but every time try and come away with a piece of info or a build in your relationship. And I think I've always found that calling and being quite familiar when you're asking, first of all, call with a name. Please try and get it. Don't call and be like, oh, who should I speak to about recruitment? Good luck trying to get through, because that's not going to happen. So, have done your prep, but value that gatekeeper, because you don't know, they could be involved in recruitment, they could know the decision maker very well and have an influence of whether you speak to them. You don't know. So I think the biggest thing that I got wrong was I just didn't value them at all. And now, you know, from my own experience, and obviously I train people differently. Yeah, don't lie, and just try and build a relationship with them, basically, because and come away. Try and find out if that person's not available. When are they available? What's their email address? What's their direct number? You know, if you can come away with one piece of info that you didn't have before, I see that as a good call, as a win.
I agree.
Personally.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just going to whack a stream of, because I'm running out of time, just whack a stream of things that you can take or leave, really. Ringing out of hours often does it. If you ring out of hours before the gatekeeper gets there, sometimes the manager or the decision maker, buyer or whatever, are at the desk, start early, finish late, so you can ring early and late. That can work. Obviously, getting the mobile number makes a big difference, although increasingly people are a bit guarded about mobile numbers that they don't know if you ring them. So either way, that's worth a go, though, to be honest. Use something like Lusher or Zoom to get that data, and that's fine. Yeah. Getting an introduction is the easiest way. I've got to be honest with you. If you know somebody that knows them, it often gets forgotten. And the first thing that I insist my people do is, you've got a list of 100 names, the hot 100s that you're going for, good clients, high value clients, you really want them. Is there anybody in the organization knowing that person? Have we got a second connection anywhere that we can get an email introduction? Because dear God, that is so much easier. They do an email introduction, they copy you in on a CC, you reply all, thank them for the introduction, say normally the easiest way to do this, yada, 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 yada. If you don't want me to do this, then please just say so. Passive action. And then you ring up. And if the gatekeeper answers, it's, well, look, you know, we've had an email exchange. I think he wants to speak to me, or I think she wants to speak to me. Could you just check? And I think if you, rather than put me through with an authoritative manner, which is what these American trainers go for. I know we've got Americans watching today. Got no problem with American trainers, and I apologise for Chris's accent earlier. But but that's not the case. The other thing, I agree with treating them as people, important people. I keep thinking these gatekeepers are like my Melanie. And I think you've got to treat them respect. Plus the fact, if anyone's rude to Melanie, she tells me I will never trade with them, ever. So, or if they lie to her or anything, no, never, never, never. But one last call on this, because I could go on this subject for ages, and I know we're running out short of time. But do you remember?
It's a show in itself.
Yeah, well, it is actually a video in itself. Yeah. Do you remember we ran an AIDA campaign yonks ago, and it was a 5-step campaign. So a step to grab interest, grab attention, step to build interest, and so on and so forth. And the second step involved a box of chocolates being sent through, right? Because it's different. And then you've got a way to get around the gatekeeper. I'm the person that sent the chocolates. I just wondered if you could check if that person wants to speak to me. But we sent it, and he's not here. And I said, oh, did you see the chocolates? Oh yeah, that was from you. Yeah, I sent the chocolates. Did you get any of them? He said no. Took him straight into his office. Never bought him out. I said, oh. And what did I do, Kirst?
You sent her own box of chocolates, and guess what did she do, Mike?
Yeah, I rang in. Did you get the? Oh, Mike, yeah. Look, he's not here. He's in on Friday. I'm going to put you in his diary. Ta-da! Easy. So I think AIDA campaigns are brilliant. I mean, if we've done AIDA campaigns before, we should probably do another show on it, because things have moved on a little bit now. But an AIDA campaign gives you so much grist to get around gatekeepers, or not get past them, because that sounds a bit rude, doesn't it? But to enable them to ask whether you're the person that they need to speak to, really. And I think that there's lots of things that you can do there. But treat them as human beings, as Kate said. Don't lie to them, treat them with respect, but have a reason that they should go to their person they're protecting to say, look, I've got Mike Ames on the phone. He said he sent you the thing, or he said that somebody sent you a video and you're kind of okay with that. Do you want to speak to him? That's better than nothing. And I think it's well worth doing.
Fantastic. Okay, so we have had some great things in the notes. Somebody said Benjamin Dennehy's solution is to say, it's about my wife. And then when you get through, say, my wife was checking out your website and suggested I call. Although he did follow up by saying he hasn't tried this yet. So why don't you try that, Stuart, and get back to us about how successful.
Yeah, let us know. Yeah.
Benjamin Dennehy, by the way, if you've never checked him out on YouTube, check him out. He's way too transactional for me, but you can take little snips. I wouldn't take that one, but you can take little snips from it. And some of it's really good stuff. So check him out.
Yeah. Somebody's had a question, a point here where they says lying to the gatekeeper to get through to a candidate he thinks might be good recruitment. However, not if you're getting through to decision maker. And I would say the only thing on that is, again, if they really respect their gatekeeper, like we do with Melanie, and they often do, if you lie to them, it can sour almost every interaction with if they're a good candidate. But yes, so But in a second, we're going to come to Kate and Mike, because he can't help himself, and ask for their top tip around this, the thing that you can do that will make a difference really easily to do. But before then, let's talk about our next show, Mike, where we've got the beautiful Ruth Forster on.
Magnificent. Ruth.
Magnificent lady, beautiful in every way.
We're going to talk about building a profitable recruitment team, because if you own a recruitment business, it's not about turnover or staff numbers. First and foremost, it's about profit. Maintaining safe, and I use the word safe very, very guardedly, because a lot of people aren't safe profit at growth that's consistent. If you want to sell, they're going to look for that. If you don't want to sell, you just want to take the money, well, clearly that's important. And we're going to talk about that. Very much looking forward to it.
And me. Okay, Kate, top tip time. So somebody's thinking cold calling, they want their people to do it, or they want to do more themselves. What would you say is your top tip?
For me, it's focusing on the relationship. It's like my biggest bugbear when people think that that's not an important part of what we do. It's everything about what we do. And it ties back to what we were saying about being more strategic. I think you've got to invest in building relationships with the people that you're speaking to. And if you can keep that in the forefront of your mind, you'll naturally be drawn away from being transactional and tactical and go more towards being strategic.
Yeah, I wish, I would have said that one, Kate took it because she's our guest, because it's the most important one by a long chalk. So strategic and relationship selling are the same thing. It used to be called relationship selling back in the day. We don't call it that now, but strategic selling, absolutely. But for me, really, it's about honesty. You know, when you open a call, be honest, ask permission, have something to say that's going to grab their interest. And you know what? You'll succeed more than you fail.
Fantastic. Okay. Now, Mike, we just have had one comment that I want to bring up. And when we were talking about the summit, Elizabeth asked, for those who are in the US or elsewhere in the world, we deal with a lot of people, can they attend virtually? Now, this is something we're planning on doing later in the year.
Not yet, but all I would say is just text us, email us. We'll put you on the list. And when we do go virtual, because we've got people in this country that don't want to travel to Birmingham, London or Manchester, we will be doing them virtually. Yes, we will.
It will be in the future. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I believe we're at the end of the session now. So first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody who's watched and commented. It's been a really lively session, which I so enjoy. It's so nice me not being lonely in the comments, so thank you. I also want to say a huge thank you to Kate. You've been magnificent, as we knew that you would be, and as you always are. Now, Kate, if anybody does, you are an excellent trainer. So if anybody does want to talk to you about potentially using you or getting people to help around cold calls, what's the best way for them to do that?
LinkedIn, because if you haven't already noticed, I live on here. So yeah, LinkedIn all the way.
Fantastic, thank you. And of course,
just to say, we don't invite Kate on this show because she's rubbish. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. She's here for a reason. And of course, I should say thank you to Mike, who's just magnificent as always, mostly because it's alliteration.
Seriously, does this combination of hair and light shirt and dark jumper, is that a story, Lovey?
Absolute story, Lovey.
I'm loving it.
That's an
I'll take that, girls. Thank you.
Okay, right.
But just to say before, there's two beautiful young ladies and some old codger. I'm getting through okay, though, I think.
I think you're the absolute.
Making me blush.
Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next week.